Boom! What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen. Welcome back to Sales Funnel Radio, and today I have a very special announcement, a very special guest, actually, that we have on for you guys today. I have Stacey and Paul Martino, and they're going to be here to teach us a little bit more how to have amazing relationships while we go and pursue our entrepreneurial journey.
I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business, using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio.
My friends, I think one of the hardest pieces of this is that you yourself feel such a fast evolution, right? I sit back and I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm not even the same guy I was like 6 months ago, right? Even like a month ago. In fact, about a month ago, I was sitting down and I was chatting with my wife and I was saying, she goes, what's wrong? She's like, I can tell something's wrong. And I was like, dude, I feel one of those phases coming up, you know? And she knew what I was talking about. It's like, I feel another one of those major self-development phases is about to happen again. And she was like, oh, okay. And she knows what that means. And it's so weird, right? Where you continually are breaking down and rebuilding yourself over and over and over again. You know, one of the biggest issues I find in this game is not that, hey, what model should I go try and execute, right? There are models, there's education, there's stuff all over the place, way more than anyone could ever actually totally execute, I feel like. That's not where people mess up anymore. Where people mess up is their actual execution of the model. And there's such a huge, you know what's funny is a lot of things I'm doing right now were things that I first learned about funnels probably like 6 years ago. Before ClickFunnels is even out. The stuff I'm doing right now, like the stuff I'm doing today, right? In fact, in about an hour and a half from me recording this video, things that I'm doing are they're tactics that I learned forever ago. I'm just still executing them. And as I grow and as I develop, I become a new person, a new individual. Anyways, I'm very excited about this episode, guys, because I invited Stacey and Paul Martino to come on the show. And if you don't know who they are, they've saved 10,000 marriages now from divorce. The average divorce rate, right, which is like a huge percentage, they have a 1% divorce rate from their programs. Super, super cool. What they are masters at is helping people not just have a relationship with their significant other, but also with themselves. And so I asked them to come on for kind of a unique theme, and that is I wanted to come in and teach us how to be self-confident. Okay? And I'm not saying you listening to this right now have a lack of confidence. I'm not saying you need to feel that in order to actually get value from this episode. But what's crazy is, as I was just saying at the beginning of this, like, I have to keep redeveloping myself. And because of that, like, if this is me and I have the core self, the core me, right? There's like these things that keep falling off, these character flaws, these pieces that I've realized, oh my gosh, I need to change in order to actually go execute my vision in the first place. With that much rapid change, and entrepreneurship is like the best self-development course you never opted into, right? It is so powerful. With that much change of who you are and so much growth and development, self and the core of who you are starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you notice a lot of entrepreneurs, the further they get into this game, they have a lot of confidence in who they are and their message, and it's mostly because they've been through the ringer. And they've gone through lots and lots of self-redevelopments. So that's what I've asked them for. So we're going to cut over to the interview I had with them right now and watch carefully. What I ask them is, how do you gain a stronger sense of self? How do you gain self-confidence to actually execute all these models that I keep teaching? Boom! What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen. Welcome back to Sales Funnel Radio. I'm very excited that you are here, and I have a very cool treat for you. This is an episode that is unlike any other I've had on the show. We actually are now getting close to maxing out the show on iTunes. We're going to have to figure that out soon. And so there has literally been no episode like this. That's a big deal when I say that, in the entire history of this show. So I'm very pumped to be here. What you guys will learn is a lot about how I have also been able to do a lot of the things that I have in the past little while. This is a very powerful episode, and I want you to stop and take notes. If you're driving, pull over and grab some notes out and take the opportunity to really do this.
I know it's a little sidebar, maybe a long intro here, but you have to understand that while I teach so much of this stuff on the podcast, and some of you guys have been very loving on that, the biggest reason why people don't actually have success with this game is because they don't know how to be authentic with themselves, and they have no relationship with themselves, so they can't trust their actions. So it doesn't matter what I teach, they can't even do it. And so that's why I'm very excited to have on our very special guest today. This is going to be awesome. And without further ado, I want to welcome to the show Stacey and Paul Martino. Thank you so much for being on.
Being here, yeah.
I'm pumped you guys are here. This is I'll be honest, I'm gonna be really jealous if everybody leaves my podcast to start listening to yours after this is over.
It won't be necessary. That was amazing. That's right. Yes. Just all more goodness.
I listen to both.
Yes, that's good. You know, it's funny. So the Inner Circle meeting that we just all had together, immediately my wife and I went and watched your guys' session again, and I think a third time, and it's just super powerful stuff. Now, I'm excited for you guys to be here because that's exactly what I was saying in the intro. It's very challenging for people to learn to trust themselves, and I was the shy kid, you know, and no one knew that I was this raging storm on the inside, you know, because I was afraid of speaking. I was afraid of and so much of me doing all this game, I love it so much, not just because of the products, but because of the personal development that happens with it. I know that may not be much of an intro for what it is you guys really do. Could you tell everybody, hey, this is what we do?
Yeah, awesome. So Paul and I are the founders of Relationship Development. And basically, relationship development is personal development for your relationship. And every single day, we help people create their unshakable love and unleash passion, all using our unique methodology where it only requires one person to do the work to transform any relationship, whether that's your marriage relationship, the relationship you have with your kids, with your family of origin, business relationships, clients, potential clients, whatever that relationship is, your relationship with yourself. That's what we teach are the real tools and strategies that really nobody ever got to actually navigate life as your best and most authentic self and have your relationships rise up, have not only the tools for the best and most authentic you, but also the tools to relate to other people in the world around you in a way that lifts up that relationship instead of breaks it down. And that is fundamentally what it is that we do. And that's like our mission in life is to just get these tools and strategies.
You're so good at it. Oh man, so good. You know, just like I was saying before, we teach so much stuff and the world is loud and noisy and I got to do this and that and the checklists are huge. How does somebody actually begin, removing the noise? By the way, you guys found the answer. If you guys are watching, listening to us now, it's not about going and you don't need to go Google anything else. How do I learn about myself? You found them, okay? I wanted to bring them to you on the show and I'm excited that they're here, but how does somebody actually go learn themselves? How do you start that process? Because for me, it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, it's really uncomfortable. And I know you can speak to this too. Paul and I started our journey over 20 years ago.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you were even alive when I started.
It's just born.
And I think that the key is when you're left on your own to try to learn how to navigate life by figuring out who you really are and how you're going to be okay with being who you really are, living in a world with a lot of other people who have expectations and desires for who they want you to be. A lot of people, it is either too scary or it gets too confusing and they jump off. And so for me, the key is always what we teach called the hand of Vlad. You want to do Vlad real quick?
Yeah, we do Vlad. So Vlad is, when you need someone who is going to guide you somewhere, you always want to reach for what we call the hand of Vlad. And the hand of Vlad is, if you imagine Vlad is this infant who's swinging on a trampoline, on a trapeze with his mother, right? So his mother is raising him, rocking him to sleep while she's on the trapeze, holding on with one hand, does her flips. Vlad's grandmother, grandfather, father, mother, all of them, the whole family for generations has been doing nothing but trapeze, and they're completely comfortable up on the trapeze, right? So when you want to learn how to do the trapeze, for example, you want to have someone like that, right, who grew up on the trapeze, their whole family does it. That's their comfort zone. Where for us, we climb up that tall ladder, we get to the top, and we stand on what Stacey calls the cracker at the top, right? And you really want to get to the other side of where that other cracker is on the other side. But to get there, you have to go across these trapeze, swings that are coming back and forth. So you don't want to do that on your own. You don't want to be like the one that's like up there on the cracker, waiting for that trapeze to swing your way, and then jump and hope you can grab on and flip over and catch the next one and get to the next cracker, right? You want to find someone who's already navigated that and knows how to do it all so easily. It's just effortless for them. And instead of you doing the work, they know how to do it. And what happens is, if you reach for the hand of Vlad, it's basically the same as standing on that cracker, waiting, and out of the darkness swings Vlad. And Vlad reaches out his hand and he's like, take my hand and I'll get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
And if you don't take his hand when he swings over there, he'll disappear back into the darkness again. And maybe he comes back for another swing and he's like, take my hand, I'll take you where you want to go. And if you want to get there, your best chance of getting there with the least effort and the fastest way is just take Vlad's hand. He knows how to get you across. So we say reach for the hand of Vlad. That's his comfort zone. And instead of trying to figure out how to do trapeze for 20 years and practicing and, trying not to fall.
Maybe you get there, maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't get there, right. And then, even worse, this is what happens, Stephen. Like, people try to find their way somewhere. And if they don't reach for the hand of Vlad, that mentor, what happens is often at some point maybe they feel pressured or desperate and they just take that leap. And when they fall, they say, well, that's just not for me. It's not possible for me. I can't get to where I want to go. And they kind of give up, thinking that the fall meant that they shouldn't do this or dissuade them from getting there, when in reality the mistake they made was just not reaching for the hand of Vlad, who's already done it, who can get them there. So whenever anybody's reaching out for someone like you or Stacey and I, we all have our gifts. We all have our zone of expertise. We're all the hand of Vlad in some form or another for each other. So really you want to start with someone who's already navigated that path and they can help you get there. So that's the first answer for your question.
So I have to find a coach. I mean, I have to find someone who's been through that in the past.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coaches that are out there, which is what I was trying to tell everybody, like, you don't have to look anymore. It's Stacey and Paul Martino. This is where, I feel like most of the inner circle, all of our problems go to you guys, and we all get better because of you.
And we're always glad to help.
And we're happy to serve, absolutely.
And the other thing I'd say, Stephen, too, is the authentic part is, the funny thing is, we came into this world authentically who we are.
Okay.
And then we develop this sense of self, and we start looking around and comparing and judging ourselves against others, right? And we start trying to figure out what we want to be. And throughout life, it's not about necessarily learning how to become authentic. Yeah. It's learning how to stop becoming unauthentic. And instead of us adapting through all these years trying to be like something else, it's truly about understanding what's at your core and how to peel back those layers, which is not so hard. It sounds difficult, but it's not that actually hard, is to get past the layers that we've developed against our authentic self.
Yes.
And getting back to what really drives you, what's authentic to your core, what's in your heart. And one example of this is pleasing versus giving, which, if you think about it, a lot of times what we're doing in life is we're doing something that we don't really want to do, but we're doing it to please someone else, right? Just for the sake of pleasing. And when we do that, we feel a little bit like, I don't really want to, but I'm going to do it because, and we say, well, it's the right thing to do. But what happens is often it's not received right off the bat in the way we really meant it to be, kind of falls short. And then what happens is it boomerangs back as resentment. And even when we do please over and over and over, after a while we start to build up that resentment. I don't really want to do this. I'm always doing this. It doesn't feel right. And yet that's one of those coping mechanisms we've learned over the years is I have to do this, so I'm going to please this person. And yet the answer was always there, because there is something that, if you have intentions for someone where you really want to help them, for example, there's always a way to give without looking at it as pleasing, meaning what is it that I can authentically give from my heart and feel good about when I'm giving? And that's the subtle difference of starting to find your way out. That's one example of finding your way out of the conditioning that's happened to us over the years, where we've learned to adapt to become something that we think we're supposed to be for others, versus truly showing up authentically as ourselves, feeling good about it every day, and getting to know ourselves, because we're learning this I can give, and I can give it all day long and always feel good about it, versus I'm going to stop pleasing just for the sake of pleasing, and I'm going to find a way to give to that person in a way that they can truly receive the gift. And whether they take the gift or not, it doesn't matter. I'm giving it anyway. There's no expectation of return, and I always get to feel good about that. So there's these subtle shifts that we can make as we go through our day to start deprogramming ourselves from what we thought we should be, versus what we truly authentically are. So
awesome.
It's fascinating. Okay. So I love that. You have to unlearn unauthentic. We already were authentic at some point. That's fascinating. There's a book that was that always sat next to Russell's desk, the first office that I was working with him at, and it said on there, you don't learn interesting, you unlearn boring. Right? It reminds me of that. We're born with so much of this cool stuff, so much of these cool powers, and we kind of, I hate throwing the rocks at the school. I feel like everyone does that, but it's the reality. You learn so much of these train tracks that we follow. Then suddenly you graduate or leave school or whatever. The tracks suddenly end somewhere in your life, and you're left to build them on your own. And there's this weird pattern I found where it's like, unless someone has built their own tracks before in their life, they have a very time executing what we're going to show them how to go do. How does somebody start doing that, navigating their own life?
Yeah. So one of the things, and that's so big for us, right, is learning how to navigate life. Yeah. Because a lot of us, what you're describing is the perfect example of living a life in reaction versus living your life in intention. See, most of us grew up, like you're explaining, living our life in reaction to our folks, in reaction to our teachers, in reaction to our friends, right? We say something and all of our friends around us are like, ew, and we're like, no, me either. Ew. Immediately, right? Because the pain of being shunned or being judged or being made fun of or anything is just too great. Or in school, we don't want to be wrong, right? We don't want to. Every time we talk, we get in trouble. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves in business. And if you don't talk to your neighbor, you're dead, right? So what is this? Because I've been trained for 18 years not to talk to my neighbor to get the answer. And now I wonder why I'm having a tough time asking for help in my business. So it's important for us to start learning that anything that I'm doing in reaction is wrong. And it's my opportunity to live free. Living free means I'm going to live a life by design instead of a life by default. So a life by default is what you've ended up in, living in reaction to everyone else around you up until this point. A life by design is where instead of checking in with your head as to what have I been told is right, what have I been told is wrong, checking in with your heart and seeing how do I feel about that? Yeah. Does that feel aligned for me? Or I know they told me that's right, but that just doesn't feel right. Your heart will actually never steer you wrong. When you follow your heart, you can do no wrong. Now you need to partner that with a tool set so that you can live authentically. See, we call it the authenticity trap. Some people swing in the opposite direction of this life of conformity, right, that we've been raised in, and they end up in what we describe as the authenticity trap, where it's like, I gotta be me, and heck with you if you don't like it, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not awesome. I get it, and I'm thrilled for you that you want to be free, but telling everybody where they can go is not exactly creating a life by design. Believe it or not, you just swung the pendulum in the other direction, and you're still living in reaction to everything that you've been through, right? It's still controlling you. And your heart's not telling you to tell everybody to take a flying leap. You might just be defensive, or you're done with it, or you're mad because, the blinders are off, but your heart will always lead you to an authentic place. And the thing that people are missing when it comes to taking that step forward to living authentically is the fear that comes up for most people is, okay, so how can I do this without hurting and disappointing everybody around me, right, who has an expectation for how I should be or who I am, right?
Totally.
And that's just a skill set. All that is a skill set. The gap that you can close that with a skill set. The gap between I need to be authentically myself and I don't want to create pain on the other side is a skill set of learning how to be able to speak in a way, relate in a way. So there's the you piece and there's the you relate piece. The you piece is, okay, I need to live my life by design and stop everything that I'm doing, right? That's life by default.
Right.
But then the you relate piece, because relationship is nothing more than you plus you relate. The you relate piece is, all right, so how do I still show up as a team with my partner? How do I still show up in service to my children? How do I still be part of my family of origin without prioritizing my family of origin over myself and my primary family?
Right.
These are tools that we actually have to learn. It's part of the relationship education that no one ever gave us.
And, the part of learning is going back to what we were saying in the beginning, is unlearning. And part of that is like, we want to make a change. And then that great example you just gave, which is, but everybody has these expectations of how I've been showing up and they expect me to be that way. Part of it is like the unlearning the pattern before, but people struggle with that because they feel like it's confrontational, or they're concerned about how someone will react because they'll feel like they're going to push me away.
Yeah.
And what I would do is, one of the tools we would say to start freeing you from that feeling is, instead of seeing it as a conflict, one of the first things you want to do is start recognizing that if you're not being authentic to them, you're actually holding back for them. You're holding back the best self that you have for them. They will love the authentic you so much more. And it's being disingenuous, actually, by not being your authentic self with them. You're not being that true friend. You're not being the son that your mother really wanted to know, right? You're being someone who's been modified rather than the true person that she wants to see. Or, your best friend who's been like, man, you're so much happier now that, like, I don't know what's going on, but I see this difference in you and you're so much happier. That comes from your authenticity. So the first sort of fingertip grip we want to peel back on this is that you're doing them a disservice by not becoming your authentic self. You're holding back what the world needs from you, because we all come here with gifts. We all come here with a unique personality. And anybody who loves you, anybody who cares about you, really wants the best for you. And they want to know the real you. They don't want to see the modified you. They want to really get to know the real you, the unique soul that you are that came onto this planet. So when you start coming from it from the perspective of, all right, instead of being conflict, I need to do this for the sake of my relationships with my mother, with my friends, with whoever it is that we feel like it would be unusual for us to show up differently. They deserve the real me and not something else. And if you think about it in reverse, like, would you want your friend not to be genuine with you and to sort of just, put on a sort of a facade to some degree to help make you feel better? Or would you want them to feel free, especially as a man, right? We resonate with that freedom. Like, no, I want you to be free to be you. So, when we start to see it for what it really is, it becomes easier to start letting go of the fear that is the conflict and start embracing the fact that it's actually a gift, not only for ourselves, but for everybody that cares about us, everybody that we know, and for the world in general, because the world needs everybody to bring those unique gifts and not to mute or modify just to please others.
All right, if you're going to do that, I'm going there. Then let's put a real crack. Let's put a real crack in this blueprint, because you're almost there. Let's just annihilate this forever.
Let's do it.
So anytime you're telling yourself that your holding back of being the authentic self is actually what other people want from you, I'm just going to shatter this for you right now. The truth is, and this is scientific, and this is not my theory, and this is not a guess. The truth is, when you show up pretending to be something you're not, you energetically and strategically convey the message to the other person. It's not okay for me to be who I am, and let me tell you something, it's not okay for you to be who you really are. So I'm telling you right now, I'm pretending to be something I'm not, and I expect you to be something that you're not too, so let's go.
Yeah. And
the minute you release that and you show up as your authentic self, you immediately convey to them, hey, I'm going to be real with you. You can always be real with me. Now that's service.
And who do you trust now? Right.
Yeah, that's so huge. Getting someone to own and have confidence to even execute what we're teaching. I heard somebody, that's one of those challenging pieces that I try to do. And you guys are experts at this. I heard somebody define confidence as self-trust. And I was like, that's really, really cool to call it that. And I started reading David Goggins and started reading more like, all these, and there's a lot of heaviness in certain things from those people, but I appreciated what they were still talking about, which is, look, you got to show up authentically, or you are literally not living. I mean, you're not even, you got this shroud over you all the time.
Amen. Yes.
All the time. So what else can somebody be doing, I guess, to
I'll talk as if I was my young, shy self here. How could I go and let's say I know that I don't have confidence, or that I can't go, not even just confidence in general, like there's no way I deserve to go do these funnel things. There's no way I can go and actually be a successful, attractive character or a business person. And let's say I know that I have these inhibitions. What's like the first step that I should go start taking to start switching that?
All right. This may sound completely out of left field.
I love it. Already.
But anytime you're saying something like that, you're being massively selfish.
Interesting. How so?
You are focusing only on you. Okay. I can't. Who am I to? There's no way I can. You're absolutely right at this moment. You're going to get nowhere if you're only focused on yourself in life. And all of your fears are tied up in looking just at you. And the minute you start asking yourself, like we would, when there are times when I've been out on the ledge too, like metaphorically, like, right. I don't know if I can do this. It's so much, right? We all end up at that kind of point at some moment as things start to scale. Luckily for me, my husband knows my blueprint really, really well. And he knows exactly what to say, which is, Stacey, what about the kids? What about the kids in that house of the person who hasn't found us yet? What about them? Who's going to stand up for them if we're not there tomorrow? Let's get back out there and let's reach that family.
I love it.
And then all of a sudden, guess what? There's no fear because it's not about me. Yeah. It's got to be about somebody more than you. There's somebody whose life is going to take a very different trajectory if you don't show up and interrupt their yellow brick road of their life with a solution. If you're not going to be there, Vlad, who's going to swing on the bar? They might jump into the abyss if you don't show up. So the first step is pattern break. Every single time you start saying things like that, catch yourself. If I'm making it about me, I'm wrong. I'm being selfish. I refuse to live like that anymore, not a single day. So how can I make this about something more than me, something bigger than me, someone else other than me? That's the first step out.
And the truth is, all of us have learned this sense of who we are, this sense of identity. We've created over time about what we've chosen. And it's what creates this model of the world that we work within, this blueprint that we keep talking about. Fortunately for us, we're kind of like computers in the sense that we run programs. And we've run that one program really long. And we can always change the program. We just we weren't aware of our perspective and relationship to the program. We thought we were in it and we can't do anything about it and it's just running. The truth is we're observing it and we can actually change it. And, one of my favorite quote, in fact, I was in IT years ago, and I used to make fun of people who put the little quotes all over their the big giant computer monitors back then, like 10 feet wide, like big screens, like crazy big things. And they put these little quotes all around and their family pictures and stuff. But I'm like, why would they put all this junk around there? Not the kid stuff, but the quotes all around their computer monitor. And then one day, I found a quote that it was like 5,000 BC. I found a quote from Lao Tzu, and that's the American pronunciation. It's like Lao Tzu, I think if you pronounce it properly. But anyway, I found this quote where I found myself printing it out on paper, putting tape on it, and I put it on my monitor because I wanted to look at it every day. And it goes directly to this point. One of the first things we have to embrace is the fact that as I let go of what I am, I become what I may be. It's a process of letting go of what we thought we were that allows us to become what we may be. But as long as we believe what we are is sort of this thing that's happening, we are it, you're under the influence. You're inside the bubble of it. But when you can step back and say, as I let go of what I am, I'm allowing myself to become what I may be. So it's sort of like that first baby step is acknowledging the fact that I am not fixed. I am not what I think that I am, and I can change it. And you can see it all the time with people who go through significant emotional events in life, right? Something happens to someone, good or bad, and they change. Yep. And there was a great book on that, Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic, oh, you have it, yeah. So he's a plastic surgeon, and he saw he changed someone's face a little bit, their whole life changed because they allowed themselves to believe they were now something different. They were someone else. It wasn't the actual mechanical changes he made. It was the belief that they are, oh, now I'm someone else. We don't have to wait for a significant emotional event to throw us into a different experience where we are forced to show up a certain way, where we suddenly find ourselves having new features to our personality. It's a choice, but we don't think that can happen to us because we believe that voice in our head is us. We believe that, what I am is what I am. And we're so much more than what we give ourselves credit for who we are. It's just we're not taking a step back to say, no, I'm in the driver's seat now. I see where I've been. Today's a new day. I'm deciding where I'm going to go now.
Yes,
that's where we take these things like Stacey's saying, it's like, now I'm going to start breaking that pattern and I'm shifting because today was the last day I'm going to be that, where I'm going to be in this situation. And tomorrow's the day that I take my first step. In fact, today is the day I take that first step towards the new tomorrow.
Amen.
So it's that change, but we have to do it consciously. But we get so caught up on our day, we don't see these things happening. But you can actually break this down and step back and start shifting it without life sort of happening by default to you and us finding somewhere where we didn't want to be. And going back to your point, in the railroad tracks, like, we want to design that track and say, this is where I'm going. I'm going to start building that track today. I'm heading this way. So yeah, I guess that's the best.
What's funny is you guys might be able to see it. Baby, there are just tons of quotes on my ceiling.
Sweet.
So they're not on my monitor. They're all over the ceiling.
we are surrounded. You can't see our walls, but we have literally painted 8 feet across on our walls. We're surrounded by 30 or 40 quotes in here.
It's so powerful.
That's what our office walls are.
Good
They're
for you. Yeah.
painted
Ran out
right
of
on
wall
there.
space. Is like, well, I'm going to the ceiling then. So
That's
one of those quotes,
Amen.
I think it's up there right now, is it goes along the same point you're saying, is like, how would the person I'd like to be do the thing I'm about to do? And I
Amen.
love that because I think it encapsulates so all this stuff. Anyway, if I can get somebody to fill in the blank, I am a whatever, and own it, they turn into a Superman, and they do so much stuff that's so awesome. And I never thought that I would be talking about this kind of thing ever, and because I'm oh, it's all about the marketing thing, and anyways, all these different things. But in reality, you can't even do that stuff unless you are actually at peace with yourself and who you are and being authentic about it.
No question.
How can I, let's say, again, this is the old self speaking for me. How can I interact with those I love that don't like my new path?
Yeah.
I know that's weird.
No, this is what we do all day, every day around here.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. We have loads of tools for this, but I'm going to walk them across the bridge or right hand, left hand?
I think right hand, left hand, because, Stephen, would you say that it's because you've chosen to be entrepreneurial? Is that where your specific example is? Or personal development? Is that sort of where you're coming from?
Right.
On this
meaning, so I'll go teach this stuff, and then I find that most people, if they can believe that, yes, I can be a blank, the next one they always run into is, dang it, my relationships, and they don't know how to actually go through that now that they're owning what they want.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so there are so many tools because some of them are really situational, right?
Right.
I'm no longer going to put my family of origin before my primary family. Now how do I handle that conversation with my mom because we're not coming Christmas Eve like we always do because we're going to be home for Christmas. Those things are situational, and we have scripts for all of that stuff, and there's a skill set for all of that. But honestly, the biggest one is right hand, left hand, which is a tool I know that that we teach about how to navigate life.
Yeah.
With people who are different than you. So look, there are actually 3 groups of people in your life. There's toxic people, there's your 7th power, and there's your friends and family. Yeah. Now, toxic people, we can talk about another show, but they're the people that no matter what you do, there's no making them happy. They're in a downward spiral in life. That's just where they are. They're in a bad place. Doesn't matter if you please them, if you don't please them, whatever. Nothing will make them happy because they don't want to be happy. And there's really nothing we can do for somebody who's toxic. Now, we're going to talk about the other 2 groups of people because they're really the primary groups. Your 7th power is your tribe, the people that you grow with, the people that you listen to the podcast and send it to them, read the book and talk about it with them, go to the event and then spew everything from the event with them and they love it. That's your tribe, right? The people that you pitch and catch with, that you grow and expand with, that you help and they help you, right? They reach down the mountain and pull you up, or If you need it, they get behind you and kick your butt all the way to the top. If you're not reaching your potential fast enough, that's your 7th power tribe. Now with them, you do all of these conversations. You tell them about the book. You tell them about what you're doing. You tell them about the event. They support you. They validate you, and you do that back with them. Now, your friends and family group, which is the largest group of people in your world, they're not on that path.
No.
They're not into the personal development. They really don't care about your book. They don't want to hear about being an entrepreneur. They're not into growth. Here's the thing. That does not make them toxic. Like, I don't know when that became toxic.
Are you sure?
I'm really sure.
Because I got some stories.
It's so different. And yet a lot of people, even the most like well-meaning people, will say like, you can only surround yourself with positive people who get your journey. Like, that's not cool. You're married, you have kids, you have family. Like, you don't need to shut those people out. It's a disservice because it's just a skill set that you didn't have before. So we teach this tool, right hand, left hand. Put out your right hand, put out your left hand. So in your right hand is your friends and family group, and your left hand is your 7th power. Pain happens when they come together when you don't know what hand you're in.
Amen.
When you're with your friends and family, but you're treating them like they should be in your 7th power. You're telling them all about the book you're writing, and they're like, who do you think you are, right? Or you're talking about the awards on your wall, and they're like, I don't know, I have to do that. Or they say, hey, I have like this, I'm taking this pill for this thing, and you're like, you should do a 21-day raw food cleanse with me. I just did it. It's awesome. It's all the dairy. The dairy's killing you. Don't eat that pie because let me just tell you about sugar. Like, and you just start vomiting all of your personal development all over them. They don't love it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is this. I know we all mean well. Everybody means well. But the minute that someone experiences a difference between themselves and someone else, they get uncomfortable. It's just wired into the human condition. And most people have been wired with this win-lose dynamic where if there's a difference between me and you, one of us is right and one of us is wrong. So I need to make you wrong because I cannot be the one who's wrong at the end of this day.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, when they experience the difference as you ascend, as you grow, as you elevate, they have 2 choices. Either elevate with you or make you wrong. And most people will choose to like, what do you think you're better than me?
Right.
That's fine. You're cult and you're brainwashing and all of your stuff. Go dump more money into that. Why don't you? Like, They have to poo-poo it because they're uncomfortable. They end up feeling rejected, like somehow you think that you're better than them, or you have these new lenses and you're probably going to be judging them when you're not. But people it's really hard to get out of a blueprint of feeling that when you're not doing personal development and you don't see things that way. So your role, how do you navigate? Please don't cut them out of your life, because for probably more than half of you listening, one of them is your spouse.
Right.
And like, this is life. You're still married, you're still parents, you still have family. This is your job. Know your role. First of all, when you're interacting with someone, know what hand they're in. Step 1.
Okay.
Is this a right hand person or a left hand? Right hand person or a left hand person? Number 1. Step 2. Know your role. When you're with your friends and family, you only have one job. Give with unconditional compassion. That's it. Just give with unconditional compassion, no judgment for where they are. You don't need to talk about yourself. You don't need to seek validation from them. You don't need to be like, I don't get it why my mom doesn't see that I'm not the same that I used to be, and I keep telling her, and she. That's for your 7th power. That's a conversation for your 7th power person.
Right.
But when you're with your friends and family, just show up and give unconditional compassion. Actually, we all could use some development in the area of being able to give unconditional compassion without judgment. So your family is your gift for you, because honestly, you, me, everybody, we need the practice.
Yeah.
And they are your practice, because everybody on this earth is a wonderful, beautiful person, and they're having their own journey, and nobody deserves your judgment. So what better place to practice your skill set of unconditional compassion than with your friends and family. And so the beauty of having a tribe and having the seventh power is you get to fill up from your seventh power so that you have what to give with to your family.
That's so incredible. And that was incredibly powerful when I learned that the first time from you guys while you were teaching it. And I was like, that's why. I was like, I need to shut up. Okay.
Yes.
And that's okay. So anyway, it was very, very key for me. Big moment. Guys, I want to thank you so much. Just so everyone is listening, like, and for you guys as well. My wife and I have talked about you a lot. And the things that you guys have spoken about and taught, it's just like, it's amazing how much it's truly applicable immediately. It's not like theory. It's not. It's like, hey, here's the tool. Here's how to use it. And then there's been times, even recently, I'm like, drop the sale. You know what I mean? Or there's times where I need to be. Anyway, it's been directly. It's impacted my life a lot. And so I want to thank you a lot. Where can people find out more? Because I want everyone to go experience the true Martino power.
Well, I'm sure you're going to share a link for our free web class. That is like what I really highly recommend is we put together this free online training, the kind of stuff that Steve's talking about right now.
Yeah.
Paul and I don't do theory and crap and all that. No, we do real actionable tools for real families. And literally when you consume this free training class, you will see a result before your head hits the pillow tonight. Like that's how fast this works. So we did it like a 2.5 hour real training, totally free, where we're literally teaching you what's been invisible in your relationship dynamics that's been causing you pain, and we make it visible so that, and you get the tools to actually shift it and show you how it only takes one person to transform any relationship, and that's all in this web class. So definitely check it out. That's what I would say to start with.
So
and you know what, Steve, it's the same thing. Like, it's funny because I say the same things about you. It's like what I love about you. I know we were talking about this the other day. What I love about you is you take things that are just sort of accepted as is. Yeah. And then you question it and you're like, wait a minute, like, what is it all for? Right? We start breaking things down and you're like, hold on. And you get these discoveries, right? And the clarity of the truth of the discoveries that you find become like so powerful. But what you're doing is the same thing that we're doing, like in relationship, you do for your students and people, where you're showing them like, hold on, let me peel back the layers so you can see it now, so you know how to really do it right. And it's kind of the same thing here.
Same thing.
All we're ever lacking in any area is the clarity to see what we can't see right now and to have someone peel back the layers. Because once you see it, now you can do something about it that was a life by design, right? And I love that. And like even like this whole episode, like it is sales funnel radio. But I love how you brought in like, hey, not being authentic is a big deal. Like if you want to make sales, you can't do it from like, imagine that like you do the old radio announcer, like, well, I would like for you to do whatever. Like, nobody wants to buy from somebody that's got that like fake voice, right?
Yeah.
Being authentic and being yourself. People are like, I like that person. I trust that person. And they're going to create sales from that by being authentic. And you have that vision. I love how you bring, your vision with such clarity to the people that you serve and how you see all those pieces now they're related, just like how relationship is applying here. Relationship with yourself is applying in, sales funnel radio. Yes, it matters. It's part of it. So anyway, I just want to, honor you for doing that, but say basically that's what we're doing here too. It's the same thing, but just for relationship.
It's so huge.
Yeah, awesome.
So huge. Guys, make sure you go to Awesome Martino, as in Martinos are awesome. Go to awesomemartino.com and you guys can go check out their free web class. And then guys, straight from what I learned this from them also. They said relationship isn't something you have, it's something that you do. And that blew my mind. And when I realized that, I was like, crap, I've been treating it the wrong way. And I've been learning to do relationship, not just with myself, but all the other loved ones I have in my life. And I want you guys to have love in your heart for you as much as you do for your message and those you serve. So please go over again, go to awesomemartino.com and you guys can go check out the web class. Guys, thanks so much for being on today.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
So our
Always a pleasure to be with
Love you, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, if you haven't noticed yet, you will. Entrepreneurship can be hard on relationships. Entrepreneurship, though, is nothing more than a learnable skill set, and relationships are actually the exact same. This is not something I normally talk about in my material, nor would I act like I'm a pro at it, because I'm not. But I do know who is. Paul and Stacey Martino are some of the most impactful people I've seen in my life. As of today, they've helped save over 10,000 marriages, literally. Since your business can only grow to the level that you do, which includes your relationship with others and yourself, I wanted to dedicate an episode here in letting you know who's actively helping relationships flourish. I've experienced their genius firsthand and wanted to tell you to get some of the same wisdom in your life. Yes, it's for you even if your relationship is great, and no, they don't teach rah-rah methods. Right now they have an awesome free training at awesomemartino.com. Simply go to awesomemartino.com with paper and pen and watch your entrepreneurial life gain even more color. No one wants to arrive alone, and it's frankly a failure to do so. Learn the skill set of relationship from Stacey Martino by going to awesomemartino.com now.